Hey y'all, what's up? This is Rosie. Last week I was watching a bunch of Gen X based videos on YouTube because I'm Gen X and I'm interested. And there's this one creator who is not a Gen Xer, he's a millennial, and he was watching a bunch of Gen X videos, and the one he started off with was when people were responding to this pink haired girl who said that Gen X is the worst generation. One video he came upon was this black dude who said he had a bone to pick with Gen X, or as he so kindly put it, with us motherfuckers. And he was saying that we left them behind, we went into hiding, we weren't gonna do shit, and he thought we were gonna be the revolutionaries and blah blah blah, yada yada, whatever. Sorry about that motor out there, y'all. Can't do nothing about the cars outside. I don't have a studio yet. But anyway, he was saying all this shit and wanted to know what happened to Gen X. Nothing happened to us. You want to know what happened to us? I'll tell you. What happened to Gen X is we grew up. We grew up, and just like every fucking body else, we had to survive. So, what we did was a lot of people went into the military and they fought in wars. The ones who were old enough fought in the Gulf War, the war in Iraq, the Afghanistan war. You know what happened in 9/11 and all of that? Yeah, Gen X. Older boomers and Gen X. Or the younger boomers, rather. The younger boomers and Gen X were fighting in those wars. That's what happened to some of them. A lot of us went to college and we got educations. A lot of people opened their own businesses, became entrepreneurs, and they are still doing that today, some of them. Others went into the workforce because they had to save up money because they couldn't go to college just yet. In my case, I became a mother and then I went to college later. So nothing happened to Gen X. We just grew up. We had to survive. And I don't recall any of us saying that we were going to become revolutionaries. You see, we saw a lot of shit growing up. We saw the Space Challenger explosion. Our teachers made us watch that shit. They didn't protect us from it. They didn't shield us from it. They brought the televisions into the classroom and they made us watch that shit. Some people got to go home that day to try and process what happened, what they saw. And others went through the day learning lessons and all of that with that shit playing in our heads over and over again. Not fully understanding what happened, not being explained to us what happened. So we had to go throughout the whole day with our lessons and getting homework and stuff, and it just was what it was. We, in 1991, saw a guy who had a camera, and we saw Rodney King get his ass beat by a bunch of police officers. And then the very next year, I think it was, we saw those police officers get acquitted, and then we witnessed LA burn to the fucking ground when all of the riots happened, the LA riots. Yeah, we saw that shit. We watched it play out on national fucking television, dudes. And then we got to see the whole Jeffrey Dahmer thing, and oh gosh, there was just so much that we witnessed, that we saw. You can't imagine. And then as for becoming politicians, because no one knows why Gen X aren't in politics, there are some Xers in politics. Maybe you can't point them out, but if you check their ages and see when they were born, there are Gen Xers in politics. I mean, oh Jesus. Okay, Anyway, but a lot of us, we had to survive. We had to raise our children. We had to take care of our homes. We had children to take care of. We were living our lives because we weren't. Oh God. Can you imagine what it's like to grow up watching the news with your parents and seeing president after president after president make promises, just enough promises to get their voters to vote for them, and then as soon as they get in that big huge office in their big fancy suits, they sit down and immediately go back on every promise that they made? Do you know what it's like to see the government and the system fail over and over and over again? Do you know what it's like to think about going into politics and then immediately recognize that the system was built on a foundation where our generation and the generations after us were meant to fail? Why do you think so many millennials and Gen Z, why do you think they don't want to work? The system was built to fail. People who went to college, bachelor degrees, doctorates, PhDs, are going into fucking retail because they can't find a job. Meanwhile, there is a nursing shortage, there is a healthcare shortage. Doctors are leaving their jobs because of everything that's going on. The system was built on a foundation that is crumbling. It was meant to fail, and we saw it a long ass time ago. And when we tried to speak up, nobody wanted to listen to us. Nobody wanted to listen to the slackers because we're slackers. What do we know? So we shut up and we did what we do best. We sat back and we observed. That's what we did. And yes, there are extras in politics. There are some in the Senate. There are some in Congress. There are even millennials there. But this foundation was meant to crumble and fail. And we've seen it over and over again. And you're pissed off because a lot of us aren't speaking up about it. That's because a lot of us don't want to get into politics, and we don't want to talk about politics because who wants to hear about that shit? We get enough of it in the news. So what we do is we talk about the times we grew up in. We talk about the good times. We reminisce about stuff. We talk about when we drank out of water hoses. We talk about when we went to the mall. We talk about when we got to run the streets unsupervised and play with our friends and all the shit we did, and we don't talk about all of it because some of it we don't want to get out. Hell, on my channel, I talked about the times that I skipped school with my friends and almost got caught by the cops, and the cop never told my mom, and in turn, I never told my mom. My mom went to her grave not knowing about the times I skipped school. I never told her. And there are some other things about my life that I never told her because it was too heartbreaking. And when I was finally going to break down and tell her what happened to me that time that I left home when I was 18 years old, she told me, if it's that bad, sweetie, I don't want to know. So she went to her grave not knowing what happened to me when I left home at 18, which was brief. It was only for a couple of weeks, but it was long enough for me to know that the next time I moved out, I didn't want to live on my own. We saw too much. We saw a lot. That's why we didn't become revolutionaries. But in 2020, after George Floyd, after what happened to him, and we all got to witness his unaliving on television and on social media, You want to know who was out there marching with you with BLM? It wasn't just millennials and it wasn't just Gen Z. There were a lot of Gen Xers out there. There were a lot of boomers out there. There was one baby boomer, a woman in her 60s, I believe, who said that she was out there marching during, I think it was the civil rights movement. She might not have been in her 60s. She might have been in her 70s. And she said something like, I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of seeing all of this go down. I thought that when we got civil rights, that all of this would end. And that's what we would all like to think. That's what we would all like to happen. But sadly, it's all the same. It's never going anywhere. So, yeah, the system was built to fail. And we all saw it, and that's why too many of us never wanted to go toward that route. We went toward the route where social media is, and we saw all the fun everybody else was having, and so we figured, hey, why don't we have fun too? It's a lot more fun to talk about days gone by than it is to talk about the days we're having now. Because this shit, oh my God. So, sir, who had your bone to pick with Gen X, I would like to see you go to those of us who saw all the crap we did over the years, and we tried to speak up about it, and we tried to have something done about it, and nobody wanted to listen to us. I would like to see you come to us, talk to us face to face with your bone to pick with us motherfuckers, and watch us motherfuckers take you down a peg, telling us all the shit that we went through, the wars that they fought, the wars that we tried to fight with the government. And those of us without power will probably most likely stay without power. So you can keep your bone, sir, because all we're gonna do is throw it in the fire, because we don't give a shit. And with that, you guys, I'm gonna go. There is a donations link as usual in the description box. If you would hit that and help support me and my channel, I would appreciate it. You will be helping me out more than you could ever possibly realize. I love you guys so much for wasting time with me. A wise man once said you have to build your tribe one person at a time. If you would like to be a part of my tribe, hit that subscribe button. I will be glad to have you no matter what generation you're from. And you guys, I love you so much. Thank you for wasting time with me. Hope to see y'all on the next upload. Bye for now.